It's 11 minutes after 8. You're still watching the AM show. My guest seated. Let me quickly do the introduction. I've got Professor Kwame Osei-Kwarteng, who is the head of department, History Department, University of Cape Coast. Good morning to you, Prof.
Good morning.
I really appreciate that you could make time to be here.
Okay.
Thank you. Chief Moman is a playwright. He's a poet. He's no stranger to our show. You can almost always predict that on a day like this, he'll be here. So, Chief, good morning.
Good morning, and it's a pleasure to be here too.
Yeah, sure. And Regina Mega is a former student leader. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Reggie, you're good? Okay. So we're talking about the relevance of this day, if you like, Independence Day, to this generation. Can we identify with independence at all? We hit the streets. We'll bring you a playback of that, but first let me appropriately start with you, Prof. What do you think generally about this conversation in terms of is independence relevant to this generation?
Thank you very much, Mama V, and let me take this opportunity to also greet all your viewers all over the world. I must say that it depends on the individual, where he is coming from, his perspective.
Okay.
If the person is a historian or is a student of history and has benefited from had benefited from the independence of Ghana, then that person will see it as relevant. But there are a large number of them also out there who, as we sit today, don't see the relevance of this day, that's independence of Ghana, because they ask themselves, what has the independence done for me? We have a situation where most of the youth today are frustrated, they are unemployed, they've completed school, some 5 years, 6 years or more. Some have not even had education beyond JHS or SHS, and they are in the house. Some are farming, even the land to farm on had been taken away from them, and they can't make ends meet. So they've resorted to armed robbery. It has landed some in jail, and some have even decided to travel outside this country to seek greener pastures elsewhere, and that had also landed them in trouble. We heard about what was happening in Libya. Some died on the way on the desert, and some have become modern day slaves. What has been happening in Saudi Arabia and the Arab world, we are all witnesses to what has been happening recently. So some don't see the relevance of it, but some see the relevance of our independence.
Okay. I think I would ask you same, Regina. You're young.
Yes.
So please.
Okay, I think the Independence Day celebration is relevant in that the symbolism is key. However, the underpinnings, the progress, 60 years down the line is what is the issue for discussion. I think most people, nobody would doubt or nobody would argue that we do not need to celebrate Independence Day. It's a remarkable date in our history and needs to be celebrated. However, what is the progress? What is the theme? What is the underpinnings now, 60 years down the line? Okay, 10 years down the line, what discussions did we have? What forecast did we give ourselves as a nation 20 years down the line? So now it's 60 years, and we are still back to square one, because as Prof rightly said, people do not see the relevance because we have not had a discussion. Where is the nation moving? We did 60th anniversary. We had a lot of stakeholder meetings. We had huge plans, putting up libraries and things. But today, 61st anniversary, we've not unveiled any library. We've not unveiled any major project. Then the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge that was supposed to be done. So as part of the anniversary celebration, nothing has been heard of. But 61st celebration, what are we doing? We are unveiling a cathedral.
Architectural plan. That's a vision.
Yes, it's a vision. But what about the discussions we had on the 60th anniversary? Why couldn't we be unveiling one of the libraries, a monument library, something that would impact the youth 10 years from now? Yes, those are some of the discussions we have to be having.
Chief.
I mean, every nation would have seminal moments in its history that is important for them to mark and reflect. And for us in country Ghana, independence is one of those days, Seth March. But for me as a young person, the relevance of this day is about connecting the aspirations the dreams of our founding fathers and mothers, the reason why we even attained that independence today, 61 years ago, to where the country currently is. So it's a moment for us to connect, to see, okay, these were the reasons why we attained our independence. 61 years on, have we attained those? Have we achieved those aspirations? Have we fulfilled those visions? And if we have not, what are we doing? But as a young person, it's also, for me, a stark reminder that the baton is coming to us. I personally hold the view that successive generation of leadership has failed us. When I say leadership, leadership in the broad term, in terms of successive generation of the Ghanaian society, at least in the Fourth Republic, if I want to just shorten it, has failed. But my fear is that as young people, we are becoming like our fathers and mothers, using it in the generic terms. We are becoming like the past generation, and there is absolutely, I think, no mental revolution or no change. So if we are not careful, we're going to come back 100 years or another 50 years, 61 years from now, and the basic problems, sanitation, access to electricity, access to job opportunities, the problems that we've been discussing for decades will still be the same old problems. So for me, a day like this is a day for us to really introspect and ask ourselves, where is our country going? In the next 20, maximum 30 years from now, a whole generation will be wiped away. And then we will be at the helm of affairs with our children. How are we preparing ourselves for the battles or for the challenges ahead? If we take a look at Sudan politics today, is it, beset with issues of corruption and ineptitude and ethnocentrism and tribal and all the national
Right away,
challenges?
you can say yes, it is.
So what it tells you is that, because it is the student political system that eventually feeds into the national political psyche. So what it tells you is that probably in 30 years from now, when those in student leadership now, or when we the young people find ourselves in the position of our leaders today, there might not be anything different.
Prof, where have we come from, and what is that vision? What is that which was pictured for us? Are we where we are supposed to be, where we were supposed to be originally per the plan?
No, I don't think that is what our forebears envisioned for us.
My director is asking so we can appreciate your face.
Okay.
If we can take your
hat off.
Hat off.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, Prof.
That is quite an ambush.
Okay. No problem at all. You see, that was not what our forebears envisioned for us. At the dawn of independence, they thought that you were going to get independence and then we take our destiny into our own hands, and that Ghanaians were going to be in the helms of affairs and manage, and either manage for good or for better our own resources. But after the independence, let's take Osagyefo. Initially, he saw that what his economic policy was not drastically different from that of the colonial economic policy, because he saw that the economy was dominated by foreign entrepreneurs, the Syrians, the Europeans, and then the Lebanese and what have you. He felt that they had the capital and they will help inject the capital into the economy as they had been doing during the colonial time, and they will help in the building of industries and then other projects that he had planned for the country. But with time, he realized that no, these people were taking away a greater chunk of the resources that were being generated in this country, that were being exploited in this country away, because they were repatriating their profits. So he decided to take a paradigm shift from that laissez-faire economic policy and then adopted socialist economic policy. Now, the economy came to be controlled by the people of Ghana. He ensured that these people, these foreigners, no longer control the economy. Retail trade, Ghanaians will take over it. Industries were built. Now roads were constructed, schools were constructed, and now Ghanaians came to manage their own affairs. And that was the expectation, that this will continue. Ghanaians will continue to manage their own affairs. Yes, Ghanaians have continued to manage their own affairs, but what happened along the line? We mismanaged things. What they had planned was that the factories that had been established, if I were to enumerate them, you see so many of them, and that will take a greater chunk of our time. So let me just mention it in passing and say that these factories were established. He introduced state farms to produce food for us, and then these farms were also to produce raw materials to feed the industries. Established Akosombo Dam with a loan from America. All these things were to help sort of boost the economy, create more employment avenues for the youth. But because of mismanagement, Ghanaians, not outsiders, then decided to mismanage. Preferring here and there, our work attitudes were bad. People were going to work late. I had a discussion with somebody where I live in Elmina. He said that his grandparent was working in Commander Sugar Factory. He was a mechanic, and he used to tell them how they used to pilfer from the bolts and nuts and those machines, how they intentionally will make the machine more functioning, create the impression that the machine was more functioning. But in actual fact, it was not more functioning. But they thought that what they were doing, they were cheating somebody. Little did they know that they were cheating themselves and their own grandchildren, or their children and grandchildren. So Ghanaians, we ourselves had shot ourselves in the foot. Our forebears, starting from Osadifo, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, along the line up to the recent past, the leaders did not think that we should be going with cap in hand, begging for money. Now our economy is controlled by the Bretton Woods institutions. IMF, recently we went for IMF bailout, and it was the IMF bailout that put restriction on employment. And for that reason, you see that most of the youth cannot get employment. This day, it's a quota system. Unless you get clearance from government, you cannot employ. You cannot employ. You see what is happening to the teachers, nursing trainees, the teacher trainees, graduate trainees. In my own department, I've trained, or my department has trained, a lot of master degree holders who want appointment as even principal research assistants, and they cannot get it. Some applications have been pending for 5 and then 4 years now. They haven't gotten the employment. And what is happening in my department is what is happening, or is a reflection of what is happening in the whole country. I just returned from the weekend. I was in my hometown, attended my uncle's funeral. There were people who were complaining. A woman was saying that, me, this time, I'm not going to vote again. Why? Because I'm hungry. And this hunger had come about because of mismanagement, because how some of our own chiefs have been selling lands haphazardly. If you are,
so it's almost as if we've messed everything up.
Messed things up.
And it's incredible. We'll come back and continue the conversation. I just want us to quickly cross over back to the Independence Square. My understanding is that the architect, Regina, listen to this. The architect is giving the outline of this plan. We're talking about the relevance of Independence Day to this crop of generation. My guest, Professor Kwame Osei, Kranting Chief Moment, and Regina Amega here with us. Just before we crossed over to the Accra International Conference Center, Prof was talking about, I mean, it's almost like a mental picture of what we are all aware of. It's just like bringing it all together makes it look like everything is a big mess. I mean, that's kind of like the picture that you get. Is that what you feel, Regina? This is real. Everything that he talked about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Truthfully, yes. That's the picture that's what everybody pictures when you think about Independence Day. When it's Independence Day, people take down some of the key areas of the nation, like education, sanitation, tourism, and realize that there's not been any significant improvement in those areas. Yes, today we can be talking about free education for maybe SHS free education, but what is the quality of that education? It's a good attempt by government to do something.
Isn't it too soon to begin to, yeah. We have to give it a bit of time, and then we can...
Yes, we can do that, but then what is the situation currently? You go to the schools, how are the children faring? What the standards of living? Is that how they are supposed to live if they were more spaced out? These are some of the conversations we'll have. It's gloomy, but not too late. That's what I always say. I think the conversation can always be started. For me, what I was expecting for this 61st anniversary was to take public opinion, because you realize that right down from January, most people were talking about the fact that we shouldn't celebrate Independence Day, we should tackle sanitation. Why couldn't this 61st anniversary be themed on sanitation? Clusters of institutions, of schools, of government departments will do activities geared towards sanitation.
So we don't have any parade?
No, there's no need for parade. I personally do not support the parade because I think we've outlived its usefulness. I'm being frank. The parade, yesterday I made a post on Facebook that instead of keeping the kids on the parade grounds, if we had rehabilitated the children's park, some of them would have been spending quality time or in the library or something. We could have done something significant. The parade, in today's age, you realize that there's no need for the parade. If we want to do a parade, maybe the security forces might do something, but I don't see why we should have the children marching in this day and age. There's no theme. 60th anniversary, we celebrated Ghana at 50. Golden Jubilee, what was the theme? Who remembers the theme? The rallying theme? Nobody. Even just last year.
Maybe Chief does.
Chief, do you? Just last year, who remembers the theme? What was the rallying cry?
But what's the essence of remembering the themes?
The theme will be the subject matter with which we will rally the whole nation. For instance, if last year the theme was educational literacy, you would have realized that people would have done activities to earmark that, and today would have been sitting down reminiscing on, okay, with the theme of literacy, this is what government did, this is what private sector did, this is what religion did.
We're going beyond aid. Or
yes.
You haven't heard?
Oh yes, we are going beyond aid, but what was the theme? Even if you are going beyond, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't have something to go around with. Today, we are looking at sanitation, which has been a very important problem for most people here. If not sanitation, tourism, there should be something. We are looking at our nation holistically. There are various segments of the nation. We should always take up something that we should celebrate every year. We can't celebrate everything. Prof was right. We can't celebrate everything every year, but we can celebrate something significant. And when we start having the discussion, I don't know whether the committee, the Independence Committee came out with something.
Yeah.
But
I have to rudely interrupt you because we have to go back to the International Conference Center. I don't want us to miss the president's speech. So that's President Akufo-Addo there speaking at the unveiling of this architectural plan for the National Cathedral. Just a little background to this cathedral that's been put up. I'll bring it to you in a bit, but I think, Regina, you were just wrapping up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So essentially, what I'm saying is that every year, instead of having a parade, instead of having the normal Independence Day celebration, from January or even in December, the government should bring out a theme. Government should bring out one problem of the economy or one problem of the nation that we are all going to rally around and tackle. And everybody knows this is what we are working towards. I would have been very happy and excited if we were on unveiling a national library or a multi-purpose complex, not necessarily a cathedral. Yes, maybe later on they might use the cathedral for other purposes, but imagine if we had put together an entrepreneur hub, something that the youth will look forward to. We do not lack church buildings. We do not lack, there's a need for libraries. There's a need for a national entrepreneurship hub. These are some of the things the youth would like to look forward to. And
you're saying not a national cathedral. You don't see the essence. This
exactly.
is a non-denominational
facility. Yes, it's good. It's good, but do we need it? That is the question. 60 years down the line, do we have a national library? No. Do we have a national fully functioning museum that tourists will come down to come and look at? No. Do we have an entrepreneurship hub? We have a lot of budding entrepreneurs. Do you have an entrepreneurship hub that can host small-scale entrepreneurs and then the big corporates to interact? No. But we have a national cathedral plan. Really?
Chief Moment, is that what the young people are thinking about? Is that how you are beginning to analyze things that are happening in our country?
I think that we are now impatient. Let me put it that way, because we have to compare ourselves to our best potential. And thanks to social media, we see what other people are doing around the world. We see what people are doing in Asia, you know, in India, in Europe, in America. We see how young people are establishing industries and corporations that are taking over the world. And we are impatient because we know that if we don't take care, by the time we get to a particular position, the world would have left us far behind. And we're also impatient because we look at our potentials, we look at our talents, and we know that these people necessarily around the world are not smarter than us. But the environment that we find ourselves in stifles our creativity and stifles our entrepreneurship. We always say that if the likes of Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and all of these great innovators were in Ghana or in Africa broadly, would they have been able to build such corporations that they have built to this standard? And the answer is absolutely no. In the last 60 years of independence, the question we should ask ourselves is that what Ghanaian enterprise or company or organization have we built that has global significance? Absolutely none. I can't count any. Even in our country, how many Ghanaian corporations and enterprises, Ghanaian-owned corporations and enterprises do we see? Just a handful. Most of the companies doing big business in Ghana are all foreign-owned. That, for us, makes us impatient, or for me as a young person, makes us impatient. And I think that the conversations that we should begin having, and we are beginning to have, is that how can we make our generation completely different from what we are getting? How can we compete with the rest of the world? And so even though we identify a lot of situations and we feel that the priorities of our nation is not headed in the right direction, how can we as young people begin to change that? And that comes with confronting the system. Now there's this whole concept of disruption. First of all, we must be confident to speak truth to power, because a lot of us are interested in our daily bread, and so we are seeing how best we can always find ourselves in comfortable positions, and we are not willing to challenge or engage the system. And if we
let me just say that intermittently we bring you pictures live from the Accra International Conference Center. A while ago, President and the Vice in your short dancing, and I am sure to music being played at the venue. But this cathedral will serve as a national non-denominational Christian worship center for the country. We already know that the President has said that this is very dear to his heart. The project is part of the many others that will be undertaken in the various parts of the country as part of Ghana's Diamond Jubilee celebrations. And there was a sword-cutting ceremony, and where the President said the lack of such infrastructure in the country prompted him to take the initiative, which he said will serve a very important purpose for the Christian community in the country. So that's about it. Once in a while, we'll bring you pictures from the Accra International Conference Center. Roland Walker is also on standby at the Independence Square. We will touch base with him for a conversation on the ground ahead of that parade that Regina is calling as, what's the point? But Chief, yes, you're talking about the fact that...
Yes, disruption. We must not be afraid to confront our system. And for me, I think we have to get to a point, and that's for me a personal decision, that we must all be champions of our own country wherever we find ourselves. I think that we have to begin having that concept that one man or woman can change Ghana. So for example,
we must begin to have the concept.
Yes,
I know when you talk about confronting power.
Yes.
I was just going to say that has also sadly become MPP NDC.
Absolutely.
So now you kind of almost have to watch what you say.
Yes. I mean, when I say confront power in terms of the power structures, so not necessarily a government in power, but the entire leadership. So whether it is your church leader, whether it's your mosque leader, whether it's your political leader, whether it's your school leader, whether it's your university leader, we have to confront the system. And I feel that now my agenda is that one man can change Ghana. I feel that if individuals believe, because individuals are powerful, if individuals believe that in their own small way they can transform the nation, they would. So my personal agenda is that as someone who is interested in the tourism industry, as someone who believes that our creativity is what we can harness to drive our progress, I want to be the most important thing that has happened to Ghana's creative art and tourism industry. For me, that is now my personal agenda. And I feel that I think the government will not do it. I think that foreigners will not do it. So I think that I should do it. That is my mindset. Now, if someone is in the health sector and feels that, or in the sanitation sector and feels that I should be the most important thing that happens to Ghana's sanitation within the next 10, 15 years. If someone is in education and is having that mindset, if we are beginning to feel that the system will not change until we decide to seize the destinies in their own hands, then that's where we begin to make progress. I think that we have reached a point where we can't be satisfied with small thinking and pettiness and small. We have to think big, and we have to think transformational, and we have to think generational. That's one of the things that our elders have not done. That's why we are where we are today. Today, when we are talking about people who have money, we talk about the number of cars they have, the number of buildings they have. We don't talk about how they have influenced society and changed anything, because we live in a society
we don't even
where
talk about the number of books they produce.
Yeah, no, we don't do that. But the reason why Western civilization has, developed and continues to develop is that people in their societies decided to put their money in innovations and creativity. So almost every invention, your iPhones, your computers, even the studio, almost every invention has come out because some people decide to give some money to some scientists or to some research institutions. I asked in Ghana, who is giving money to the University of Ghana? Who is giving money to the history department at the University of Cape Coast? Absolutely nothing. Who is funding innovation and creativity? Absolutely nothing. And so if we are not funding innovation, if we are not funding creativity, if we are not funding technology, how do we expect to create jobs? How do we expect to push our development? We would always be hanging on to the tails of other people around the world. So for me, we have to begin to enter a society where, as young people, so me, my personal commitment is that when I become a millionaire, instead of building 100 houses around the city, I'll probably build 3 houses and look for 10 young entrepreneurs and fund them. That is the only way. We talk about employment. The reason why we are not creating employment is that we're not expanding the economy. Government cannot employ everybody, and the few services industries that we have cannot expand everybody. So until we expand the economy, until we create more opportunities, we're always going to have this problem, and young people will always be going abroad. And Africa is a virgin territory, and there are so many opportunities, but our people are not bold, and they don't want to take risks. You see someone who has made all his money in Ghana and is still opening a pure water business. That should be criminal. People who have money in our society should be the people who must take risks. And if because society, the world has proven that if you are not willing to take risks, you will not progress.
I want to come to Prof and ask, because you said, every man can do it.
Yes. And
I want to ask, Nkrumah was one man.
Absolutely.
So can one man do it? But first, please indulge me. I want to cross over and join Roland Walker at the Independence Square, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation as to the relevance of a day like this, our independence really, to this young generation. And I've got the head of the history department at the University of Cape Coast, Professor Kwarteng, coming all the way and being on the show. We really appreciate it. Regina and Chief Moman are also here representing this new generation, including myself, and we're just trying to understand a few things with our history and where we are today. Chief Moman, before we went to the Independence Square, was talking about the fact that one person can make a change. So he's given himself a task in the arts, the creative arts industry. So I just want to bounce the idea of Professor Kwarteng. Can one person do it? We hear Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. He did things beyond his generation, really, even beyond the number of people who were living in Ghana at the time. So can one person make a difference in whatever sector?
Thank you very much. I think that individual, one person, will provide the leadership, but he alone can't make it. You will provide the vision. You need the support of all and sundry. If the people that you appoint to hold certain positions don't catch your vision and don't help you, there's no way you can succeed. But then you need a leader. You had J.J. Rawlings as our leader at a point in time, Osagyefo at a point in time. We now have Nana Akufo-Addo as our president at a point in time. These leaders have their vision, their plans to make the country a paradise. Let me borrow that word, a paradise.
Because you say that we can't have a paradise.
You can't have a paradise. I told you off air that you can't have a paradise. Now, if what Nana Addo has for us now, free SHS, one district, one factory, Ghana beyond aid and what have you, they are laudable ideas. But for these things to be actualized, you need support of all and sundry. Every citizen, Tom, Dick, and Harry must support. You have ministers. If the ministers don't catch that vision, even though he has the right to reshuffle them or dismiss them, before you realize the mess that that individual has caused to you, it has become a big embarrassment, and it will cause a total failure of the plan or program that you have for the nation. So it's good. You need. There is an account proverb that says that Obakufo ni kum sono ma asanteman edi. In other words, it is just one person who kills an elephant to feed the entire Ashanti nation. So you need that single individual who has the vision, who is a leader, a bold leader, a capable leader, somebody who has the efficiency, the dynamism to lead the nation, who doesn't fear and who can graze the trail. You need such person. If you don't have that person, then you cannot succeed. You need that individual. That one I agree with you 100%. But the people who are supposed to support you, if they don't support you, and in our country, that is the problem we are facing. In our recent history, you will see that all the presidents that we have had in the Fourth Republic, you mentioned the leaders. Have you found any of the leaders who have exited power to be corrupt? Have you said that this president left power, starting from J.J. Rawlings through Atamils, through Kufuor Atamils, and then President Mahama? Have you found any one of them being convicted of corruption and in prison? No. But we've had ministers of state or their appointees that have been found to be corrupt and then convicted. Because you need these people to help you. If they fail you, then you cannot succeed. Gaddafi provided leadership for Libya, he transformed Libya. But for these French, America, and then the British who bombed his country and eventually got him killed, his country wouldn't have been in the mess that it is in now. You go to Lincoln Hughes, what do you call his country? Singapore. And I've not been to Singapore, but then the place had been transformed completely. Last week, I was in Dubai. When I got to Dubai, it was like a different land altogether. I went to Jordan. I got to Jordan, even though it is an arid country, I saw that, even these people, banana, I could even see banana being cultivated, on an arid land. I saw cabbage, lettuce, and all those things. But in Ghana, people cannot even get these things to eat at certain times. These were leaders who led their country and helped the country to become what they have become. But
we say we want democracy. So the times have also changed. Unless we want a dictator, it won't be fast-paced.
America is a democratic country. Britain is a democratic country. They practice parliamentary democracy in Britain, France, and other places, and they have yet been developed. Of course, people will say that these people were colonial masters who exploited the resources from their colonies for
like
their development.
Ghana, Nigeria.
But then they love their country. The leaders who come, the laws work. When you go to Britain, I schooled in Britain for 3 years. So I stay there and I've seen that the laws work over there. Here, do the laws work? The policeman on the street is correcting how much? 1 cedi to allow the driver to pass. Even though the driver had broken the traffic offense, instead of the policeman to deal with the man, he's doing that. Somebody is in an office. His duty is supposed to send this file to this person to work on, or he's supposed to work on an establishment warrant for somebody to get his pay. He says that before I do that for you, you have to put a weight on it. How can, if you do this, how can the nation move on? You have that laudable idea. You are going to, and don't also forget that people are going to oppose you. They are going to tell you, you are too known. Let's use Ghanaian parents. You are too known. If you are honest in this country, if you are honest, then you are going to get more enemies than friends. Because if you tell lies, people will like you. But if you speak the truth, people will hate you. Me, I've had that experience, so I know what I'm talking about. Even if you are not careful, they will flame you up and you are not able to defend yourself. It can lead to your dismissal if you are working in a place. It can lead to your incarceration. You can go to prison for that. There are people who are out there in prisons who have been flamed by people. A lot of them, Ghanaians will prefer somebody lying to somebody who speaks the truth. That one I can say it without any fear of contradiction. So there's the need for us to have a moral revolution. That is what Ghana needs now. We don't need political revolution anymore. We need moral revolution. Our religious leaders, the imams, the pastors and the prophets, and then these people, the traditional priests and what have you, the chiefs and what have you, they should all come together and ask Ghanaians to change our attitudes, change our moral life. Otherwise, whatever anybody will do, any individual will try to do, believe you me, within a short time you may try to get some semblance of success, but after you have left the scene, the whole thing will slide back to square one. and that will mean that you have achieved nothing. So I will take this opportunity to tell Ghanaians that we are the cause of our own problems. We are the cause of our own problem because we don't speak the truth. If you want to do anything for anyone, any of our colleagues or any of our brothers, even our own brother, Kate and Ken, our own sibling, we want to cheat him. If he doesn't do something for me, I will never do that. Even our mother, you are cheating our mothers, you are cheating our fathers. You tell them lies and collect money from them when actually you know that what you are telling them is not the truth. So you should stop all this kind of thing because it is a little drop of water that makes a mighty ocean. These small attitudes, these small attitudes is what have culminated in the situation we have ourselves in.
Okay.
So there's the need for what? A moral revolution.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly ask if you agree to the fact that because we've been talking about revolutions, and now I'm hearing for the first time we need a moral revolution. Do you agree?
Definitely, I do agree that yes, we need a moral revolution, and as said by both, only one man can start something. And if you do it, if I do it, if he does it, if she does it, together we are moving forward.
Okay.
So definitely we do need a moral revolution.
I'm going to read some messages, but the other question I have is, what kind of history are we writing today? Like, what would our history be as a country today? We'll come on. Yes, you answer that, but let me read some messages. This one says Ghana at 61. What do we have to show as true Ghanaian? We can't manufacture the basic things we need as a nation. Everything we need is imported. Neo-colonialism. Kantanka and some other few Ghanaians have shown the way. If governments guarantee him markets, it will lead to massive industrialization. It will create a whole industry, if you understand the value chain of automobile industry. This is quite long. Government imports thousands of cars, creating jobs for other nationals, reducing our GDP, pressure on our cities, capital flight, etc. So I'm just going to acknowledge Engineer Fred Dako, Bechile Hallelujah City in Tema. That's where you send this from. It's quite long, so I had to, cut it short so I can read other messages. This one from Michael Amenin is in the UK. Michael says, as a matter of fact, at times you feel so sad about monumental challenges like filth, poverty, clean water, proper medical care, unemployment, etc. that is still confronting Ghana at 61 years of independence. Despite the resources that Ghana has, all these challenges are as a result of greedy political leaders and unpatriotic citizens who have been looting the resources of the country. So Michael Amening, and please keep your messages short when you send them to us so we can share with everybody else that is watching the show and indeed the entire nation. This one says Ghana for now is heading towards economic bankruptcy, political bankrupts, and now security bankrupts. What at all have we done to deserve this? Did we okay, yeah, there we go. Alhaji Willie Peen, if you come sending that message. Thank you very much for sending the message. If you've got something to tell us, please drop us a message as well. Before I come to the kind of history that we are writing, I probably would want to ask Chief first, but let's listen and watch this conversation that Frank Addo had with other people on the streets of Accra about the conversation we're having this morning.
To this generation, we have to learn from it more than even the old generation. Because in this generation, we came to meet the freedom. We weren't born into it. We came to meet it. So as we are in, we should learn from the stages where they defaulted us. We shouldn't repeat the same mistakes that our elders, they created. We should rather correct it, and bring a new renovation into the country. That is what I see.
For me, I think it helps the new generation to be able to cast their mind or remember how our forefathers struggled to gain independence for us. So for us, the new generation, we should also do our best and fight for the nation to also help the nation move forward.
This generation, if I don't see the difference. If this current generation, some of us, me personally, I just wish there wasn't independence, because what we see today compared to how it used to be, trust me, I just wish there was no independence. Because what the generation of today, what they are doing, I just wish there was no independence. Yeah, that's me. That's my personal view. That's my personal view, though. Yeah.
I do feel that as citizens, we all have a part to play in emancipation of Ghana as a whole. And in looking at Independence Day, we celebrate the efforts of individuals and groups who work as hard as they can to contribute their quota to make the nation better. I think Independence Day is relevant to our generation as a reminder that we are not just, the nation is not just giving us shelter, giving us education, or giving us an arena for us to improve ourselves, but in turn, we have to use that self-improvement to make the nation better for other people, just as our forebears have done for us.
It is only relevant as in we are free to move within this country without anyone blocking us. But for reality, we are not benefiting from the independence that we have.
But looking at the situation in Ghana, it seems we are not really independent because we keep going back to the foreign countries, taking loans, and then we are kind of dependent on them financially. Because right now, we say we are independent, but looking at the situations in our country, we are not truly and really independent.
I think it's relevant because it teaches us that we can be independent if we set our minds to. We do not have to depend on the West for everything.
All right, what do you make of these comments? We will open the phone lines real quick as well, and then you can also join us if you have anything to share on this. I mean, it's our conversation. So 030221169102, 030221169102. Here's one from Cephas in Salaga saying, celebrating Independence Day is meaningless if we continue to depend on the West for survival. Chief Moment, first of all, what do you make of the comments, what people have to say as well?
Well,
these are all young people.
Yes, of course. I mean, there's one particular one that I wasn't in favor of when he said he wished we hadn't had our independence. That is a no-brainer. I mean, people use South Africa as an example, but the truth of the matter is that, I mean, South Africa, the majority of the wealth is still in the hands of the minority white population, and the blacks are really complaining so much so that they are now even, blaming other Africans. That's the xenophobic attacks. About 80% of the land is in the hands of 2% minority. South Africa is sitting on a time bomb, and if they don't address that fundamental issue of ownership of land, that nation might explode. No matter what you say about Mugabe, no matter how you criticize his policies, but I think that in a generation after his leadership, in 10, 20, 30 years from now, when he's dead and gone, people might think of him, favorably because of the imbalance, how he reversed that ownership of land, which of course was one of the ways, the beginning of his problems. But back to you, I used to ask the question
yes,
about...
Yes, I'm still asking the question of,
history are we writing?
We're reflecting on, and when we talk about our history, we talk about people who are...
Absolutely.
Who left great legacies.
Absolutely.
And I wonder what we're writing right now.
I mean, it's a very important question, and we have to take a look at it from... So the independence generation was a moment of hope, and they left a legacy of hope and great expectations, even though that hope and great expectation was truncated. Then I think we went into the lost decades from 66 when Nkrumah was overthrown to 94 to 92 when we started the Fourth Republic. So those were the moments of military interventions in our politics where there was no stability and where our economy dovetailed. And after 94, we had the new generation that came, well, if you like, the continuation from 92 going. That was the Fourth Republic. There were attempts to revive our economy, to revive the nationalist spirit, but that generation did not bring in place any. So that's the Rollins, Atta Mills, Mahama, and probably the Akufo-Addo generation, even though his leadership is still very young. But that generation have not transformed that nation in remarkably in any way. Our economy is still what it is. We are still very much dependent on our resources and our raw materials, gold, cocoa, oil. And I always say that a government that can claim true transformation is a government that can come to power and after 4 or 8 years in power can tell you that when I came into power, the biggest earners in our economy was our natural resources. I have transformed the economies in such a way that now the biggest earners in our production is our manufacturing industry, our services industry, our tourism industry. Then you know that some great thinking has been put into the revolution of our economy. So we can say that that generation, the Fourth Republic generation, did not transform the nation. Now it comes to we the millennials, really, in a way.
So okay, let me talk to Richie, who is joining us from Dansuma, then I'll come back to. So the shit is plain, really. We haven't typed anything. That's what you're saying.
Incremental. as compared to our best of our potentials, we haven't made any transformational change in Ghana since our independence. Some tried, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Richie, happy Independence Day to you. Good morning. Thanks for calling.
Good morning, Mama Z, and happy Independence Day to you as well.
Please go ahead. We can hear you.
Yes, I think you are making a great point, and I've really loved the show this very morning. But I think I'm really impressed. Chief Movement, if I'm getting it right.
Yes, you are.
He has really made my day, and I think as individuals, one way or the other, I think we have to transform ourselves first. Yes, we have to transform ourselves first and make sure that we do something. We can all set the pace. We can all start doing something on our own. We should start the transformation from our own minds. Yes, we shouldn't be expecting the president, the politicians to be doing everything for us. I, in my own way, I have also realized that I can do something unique. So I've also started my something small at my village, which I know and believe that in no time it's going to be a very big thing, and I can also start employing a lot of people, and we'll also do something great for ourselves. So I think I agree with your panelists and all the things that it said. I think I agree, especially to Chief Movement.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Richie from Dansoman, we really appreciate your call. You can also give us a call 0302-211-6912 0302-211-6912. Reggie, so if we were to write, we haven't written anything. We can't write anything. That's what it is. Still a plain sheet.
We can write something, even though we've not written much. What I would say, based on what Chief has said, Chief has given a good breakdown of from independence till today to the millennia. Currently, what we can write is the lessons we've picked up from the coup d'etats. You know, after the independence celebration, when we started, Ghana was the gateway to Africa. When the lost decades came, that was the turning point for us to learn our lessons, learn our key lessons. Why were we in that period? Why did we have to go through such turbulence? If we do not pick the salient lessons in this Fourth Republic, then we haven't learned. Then that means we have relegated their history and we've not written anything. So now what we can write on that plain sheet is the lessons we've learned and then project the way
so
forward.
we can't write any achievements.
Currently we can't say we've written any achievement, because if post the revolutions we are in the Fourth Republic, people still want to go back to the colonial era, then you realize that we haven't done much. So what are the lessons we are going to pick from the revolution? Because the revolutions came on probity, accountability, there was corruption. These issues that we are still tackling them in the Fourth Republic.
Water, light.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so until we write, we need to actually write the problems. And you know, and if you read motivational books and all, they'll tell you that write your problems, write your solutions, and how you are going to bridge the gap. Until let's be frank with ourselves, there's a problem. Let's write our problems down, then let's project. Because most of these nations that we are seeing, they had a vision. They communicated that vision clearly to the citizenry. The reason why I'm always passionate about the word theme is that theme is not just a string of words. It's something that you communicate to people.
Idea.
Yes, it's an idea you communicate to people, sit with people, and every working day, in your agenda, in your newspaper reviews, in your government communication, you see that theme running through. And then people clearly, day in, day out, identify with it.
But this government's team, Ghana Beyond It, not to catch you, but sure. I mean, at least they seem to be getting the communication right. If I was just putting into that.
Let me speak to Joseph up here, and then I'll come to you, Prof, because you're the holder of our history right now on that show, so you can tell us what we have written if we haven't written anything yet. Joseph up here in Trifopra. So Joseph, good morning, happy Independence Day to you.
Good morning, Mama.
Yes, Joseph, I hope you're well. You're enjoying the holiday?
Yes, I'm enjoying the program. My regards to Prof and the analyst on the show. I wanted to comment on what some of those you interviewed were saying. In fact, they are trying to misunderstood independence and self-reliance. That most of them were trying to say that after independence, so they have not had anything, they are not benefiting. Let me say that independence, we gain self-rule from colonial masters. But self-reliance, our ability to also provide all our needs without external support. That is what is essentially the president is saying. that Ghana is now going to be free beyond it. And so let us not continue to repeat the mistakes after independence we have made. Our educational system still continue to be bookish. And so we should improve our education by training and then vocational and enhancing our vocational training into our educational system whereby youth after school can gain jobs. And then also our political appointments, we continue to say that shouldn't only be based on political affiliation. But what is happening? Always our leaders will come and then those who were affiliates of the party who contributed and they have invested into the party. When the party comes, definitely they will also have to reap what they have invested in the party. And then look at this one district, one factory. Industries, we must continue to promote our local industry. What is happening? And so, other than that, we will continue to, after 61 years, we will continue to lament all our problems and then we will not go forward. And then as Ghanaians also, we must struggle for the best. We must have the real power to work.
Okay, all right.
Most of our youth, they are yearning for job, all right, but when they get the job, what happens? There's a bit like a difficult attitude on our work, and then sometimes we only interested in the salary, but not giving us our best. And so, just as other members may see that our leaders are fought, and then we also, what are we doing as youth and then as current generations towards the development of our country? We must, as a nation, also focus on not repeating the mistakes after independence. 51 years. Still repeating our mistakes.
All right. Joseph, thank you very much. And we quickly have to cross over. We're bringing you visuals from the Independence Square. Elton Brobe joins us on phone now to tell us what's happening. Elton, if you can hear me, good morning to you.
Can I excuse you? Yeah, good morning, Mama.
So from the Independence Square from the conference center to the Independence Square, tell us what's been happening at the Independence Square.
Right, so Mama, we are almost for the official start of the 51st independence anniversary of Ghana's independence. Now, as I speak to you right now, for those who are watching us live on JoyNews on Multi TV, the arrival of the Vice President, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia, is on site now. He's been led onto the main ground by a motorcade by the police administration. When he's out of the way, the next person to arrive will be the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, together with the Nigerian President, Muhammadu Buhari, who is a special guest of today's event. But let me run by you some of the dignitaries who've come here so far. We have members of the diplomatic corps, from members of parliament, the former President John Agyekum-Fufuo, former President John Rawlings, the Chief Justice, the Speaker of Ghana's Parliament, they are all present here. So we are just minutes away from the start of the program. The Vice President is being ushered in a very beautiful style by personnel of the Ghana Police Service. He just got here and Barris will be out of his vehicle. And once he takes the seat, the next person to arrive will be President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, and then the event itself will start. Now, this event is under the theme Ghana Beyond Age, and we have personnel drawn from the Ghana Armed Forces, the Police, Immigration, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, and some selected schools. They've all come here to observe the event and to participate fully as well. So, according to the program of activity that we have, this program is expected to travel just 2 hours, that's between 10 and midday. So once that is done, it will bring the curtain down on the final stage of the parade, and then after that, the next stage of the program will commence. The Vice President is now taking, salute from the Ghana Armed Forces who are present here. We can listen in as we take the salute, after which we will take a seat for the arrival of President Akufo-Addo.
Elton, just before we let you go, how about the school children? It's become one of the worries that we get school children to stand the whole time for this whole sit march. And I see that we're reducing the number of school children we take to the Independence Square. What's the picture like this morning?
Well, it is the traditional parade. It cannot be done without the active participation of our school children. So they are also here in their numbers. But like Randy said, because of the number of schools we have in the country growing by the month, it will be impossible to have all schools here. So what is done is we have selected school people to come here and observe the day. So they will participate fully. They are actually lined up behind members of the security forces. The arrangement is that members of the security forces will be the first to go through the marching path, after which, when they are done, we will have the school children also do so. And then we have some selected groups, some market women, and some other identified groups also here to participate fully. So for the school kids, they are here in their numbers. I must say that, it is really if you are selected to participate, actually goes down with a very exciting moment. I'm sure that they are also ready to live up to the hype that is associated with Christmas traditional parade and marching past.
We'll join you as soon as the president arrives at the venue, and then we'll take it from there. But back in studio, and I want us to bring this conversation to a close. So, Prof, I'm going to ask you the same questions that I have asked. What have we written so far?
Yeah. You see, when you talk about history, whether Ghana has history or what are you going to write, you can best explain this when we or answer this question when we look at what is history. History is simply about important past events that had occurred in our society.
Whether negative or positive.
Whether they affected us positively. If an event happened and it did not affect the society, we cannot consider it to be history. It's not everything that happens every day in, day out that can be considered as history, but those that have relevance for society, that have affected society. If I'm writing a history now of Ghana, and you ask me what has happened during the Fourth Republic, the corruption that has taken place during this period is something I will capture because it affected our society. It affected it for bad. So it is important.
Okay.
If anybody says that we have not had history because of other problems, that the hydra-headed problems that they have had, then the person is not being truthful. Ghana has had history since independent. There have been good things that have happened to this country. There have been bad things that have happened to this country. The good things must be highlighted, and then the bad things.
So good things such as?
When we had our independence, how many secondary schools did you have in this country? In Nkrumah, under President Nkrumah, you have Ghana Educational Trust, where he built so many schools. I can name some of them for you if you want, because of
time, yes, obviously.
They have a particular architecture. Yasantua Secondary School is one. My own school, Senior Secondary School, is one. University of Cape Coast, the old site, our administration, it used to be called Osajifo Teacher Training College before it was.
So this is in Nkrumah?
This is in Nkrumah.
Okay.
He built so many schools for us. University of Cape Coast was established as, before the establishment of University of Cape Coast, we had University College of Ghana, that's Legon, and then what is now KNUST, it used to be Technology, University College of Technology. He upgraded them, elevated them to the status of university, that's KNUST, and then Legon, to become full-fledged university, and then establish a third university, that's University of Cape Coast, which was placed under University of Ghana. Now, beyond that, we now have 10 universities in this country. So that is an achievement in the area of education. Apart from that, there had been so many educational infrastructures that had been built. Training colleges, which are now colleges of education, polytechnics. Every region used to have a polytechnic, 10 of them. And now some of them have even been elevated to the status of what? Universities. Technical universities. That is what we can say we have achieved in the area. We didn't have a law school in this country, but today we have a law school, the one at Makola. Beyond what we have at Makola, we have so many universities, public and private, that are now also producing lawyers or training.
As in the faculties.
Faculties that are training lawyers. But we did not used to have that in the past. Before independence, if you wanted to become a lawyer, you had to go to London or America. But today you can train lawyers locally. So that in itself is an achievement.
Okay.
Now, if you leave that sector, come to the road infrastructure.
Maybe the strategy should not be for us to outline on these incremental benefits, because at the end of the day,
you want to look at the impact.
Yeah, we've made some. As for the progress, we've made some progress, but within the context of what we can be, and within the context of what others have done when we set off with them, that is where we all here agree that Ghana can be so much more than we currently are.
Yeah, that one I agree with you, but then don't also forget that if you were to compare among African countries, now you are comparing Ghana, it's like you are comparing apples with oranges. If you are to compare Ghana with other African countries, then believe you me, Ghana has made a great stride.
Yes. But my point is that if we compare to what we
but were we also not the first to gain independence?
You were the first.
So a lot is expected of us anyway.
The problem we have is not only peculiar to Ghana. It's African problem.
Yes.
It's African problem, and that one, the factors that are responsible for this are many.
Of course,
and we cannot use this small period to interrogate that.
Of course.
But I want to tell you, before I will end, I want to tell you, I have indicated earlier that I was in Jordan for a conference on social and emotional learning. That was the theme of the topic, the theme of the conference for 3 days in Jordan. At this Crown Prince, Crown Royal Plaza at Dead Sea. And believe you me, I met a secretary to the Bangladeshi Minister of Education. He attended the conference, and in my interaction with him, he said that our president has a great vision, and that when he came, he said he was at Senegal, and what the speech the president delivered and what he has been doing in the area of education, he sees that Ghana can make great strides if we are able to support the president to do whatever he is doing. But the question is, are we prepared to support the president? You talk about leadership, somebody providing leadership. In our country today, if somebody wants to provide leadership, people will pull him down. Until we stop the pettiness, the politics that we have been doing, the nepotism, the tribalism, and cronyism, and all those things, that has been pulling us down since independence. You cannot make headway.
Okay.
You are wherever you come from, all of us, we are one people, because God in his own wisdom decided to bring us together. Me, I don't see people from my village or my town or from my region as my only brothers and sisters. In the same way, you must also see everybody in Ghana here as your brother. If the person comes to you within your capacity, you can help the person without correcting anything from the person. And then if all of us are able to think that way, then you can move our country forward.
Okay.
If we don't do that, but we try to bring somebody down, somebody is trying to do this, then for the sake of politics, we go and stand somewhere and so this thing, and all the people in Ghana do it, all the parties do it, the political parties, they do it, and that is bad. That is one thing that has affected our progress. But if we want to say that we don't have history, then I'll say that would be a lie. We have a history, we have achieved.
But history doesn't also measure the impacts.
Oh, you see, you look at the impact as well. Okay. When you are praising somebody's regime or what has happened during these 60 years. If you ask me, I teach a course. Currently, I teach a course, post-independence Ghana. Okay. Post-independence Ghana. When I take the reign of Osagyefo, I look at the good things that he did, vis-a-vis the bad things that brought his regime down. And if he had continued, what would have been the possible effect on us? Okay. Do you get me? Right. So you cannot do history or study history or write history and just narrate the story and then leave it. Yeah. You have to be critical, analytical, and point out the good side and then the bad side.
Okay. We have to wrap up, but Emmanuel Kumsin, I really apologize. You're calling from Takoradi and you've been holding on for a really long time. Apologies. Emmanuel, if you can hear me, good morning.
Good morning, madam.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Happy independence to you all.
Oh, we wish you same.
I want to salute my professor, Osei Kwame Kwate. He taught me at the University of Cape Coast. Yeah, and what I want to say is that whatever the discussion is about is great and it's very, very blessing to the nation. But let's look at this. We have a whole lot of problems in this country. And every morning we wake up and talk about our problems, but we don't visit our roots. The root is embedded in our history. If a people lose their culture, what can be the benefit? Now, since we are learning everything from the whites, and we have forgotten about our history, we have forgotten about culture, the way we live, the way we do our things. And that has made us to lose our sense of patriotism. Look at it, it is reflecting in our politicians, it is reflecting in our footballers, it is reflecting even on the person standing on the street, the person walking on the street. Everybody has had an impact of this. So I think that history should be introduced in the basic schools where they will be taught from the early stages to know who they are, where they come from. And nothing new has ever happened on this earth. Whatever is happening has happened before. And if children are taught where they come from, what happened before them, and what they can do to develop the future, I think it will be of a great interest to the development of the country.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Emmanuel Kumsin from Takrady, a former student of Professor Kwating, who's here on our show. Regina, real quick, I want to ask what are you taking out from this whole conversation that we've had this morning?
Okay, for me, I think what I'm taking away is that whether we like it or not, there's a lot we can do as individuals, and that the onus lies on us to start the conversation, to start the progress, to start the change that we want to see. If you live here, and as Prof would say, moral revolution,
yes,
if you start that in your own small corner, you're definitely going to blaze the trail somewhere else. But most importantly, I think we should all ask ourselves what we can do. The major problem in this country, whether we like it or not, is unemployment. And the fact that people have a lot they can do, but the educational system is restrictive in some way, whether I like it or not. We do not allow room for creativity. You have a lot of students, a lot of kids who can do marvelously well, but then the educational system is not allowing them. As an individual, as parents at home watching us, engage your children to unearth their talent. That is how we get the invention. That is how we start the new businesses. When these kids are able to tap into their raw talent, that is how come we're able to build a nation. So please, let's parents at home, teachers, when students want to be creative, allow them. The Mark Zuckerbergs and all the millionaires are seeing today, they didn't just do root learning, they were able to tap into their creativity. So tap into your creativity, be the moral revolution in your office or whichever space you are, and one man can be the difference.
Nice.
Hey, one man and woman can be.
Oh yeah, she had to go there. Shimomen, I was hoping that, you know, as you wrap up for us, you'd also help us with a poem, really. You didn't see that coming.
Mama, so when you say that, what history are we leaving behind? In that context, it's like an idiomatic expression, you know, you're asking that what impact are we making, essentially. So it's not like we haven't had any histories, it's not like we haven't had any successes, but really what transformation, what would we do today that successive generations will sit and say, oh Charlie, this was a great moment in the nation's history. Just like how we can reminisce about our early independence, about Nkrumah and his compatriots and what they stood for, what in subsequent generations, now in my generation, would we be proud of, you know, 50 years, 100 years to come? And I think that that's a challenge for you and I, the generation now coming up.
For myself too.
Yeah, and yourself too, and with inspiration from Prof, that for us, a generation I call generation with no excuse, because we have the information, we have the history, we can see what is happening around the world, and we've seen where we have come from. So our generation has no excuse, and we cannot afford to fail. And so I would end by saying that let us all be champions in whatever fields that we find ourselves, and let us all believe that we have the power. Let every individual believe that you have the power to change whatever place you be in. And my personal commitment is that I want to change the creative art industry in Ghana, and I want to be a great to bring up creative businesses in future. I know I'm going to make the money, but I'm going to make sure that I'm going to put that money into good use. And let me end with
thank you for the thought. Wait, hang on, we'll come to that. Prof says he has the best history departments in Ghana. I wonder what makes your department the best?
Yeah, what makes my department the best is the fact that at the moment we are training most of the PhDs in history.
Okay.
In most of the departments, okay, other departments are in tech and Legon, but then they cannot be compared to us in terms of numbers and the quality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we get people even coming from Legon. Most of the Legon products coming to do their PhDs at the moment.
But somebody said, what do you expect? You're speaking to the head of department.
And then also, we are involved in churning out books, articles, and then journals. And we have come out with our latest publication, that's Africa and the World War I, which came out just last month. That's the month just gone by, February, which very soon you go and make a donation to Ghana Armed Forces for supporting us with a token amount to organize the conference that eventually resulted in the publication of the book. So
what difference do we expect? I mean, what's that thing? What is this book going to do for us as a country?
Yeah, anybody who reads the book will know the contribution of Ghana Armed Forces towards the victory of the Allied forces in the Great War. That's 1914 to 1918. You see how Ghanaian soldiers fought bravery in Togo and took over that country for the British and the French. It used to be a German territory, what we now call Transvolta Togoland. And then the Republic of Togo used to be one part of the Volta region and northern region up to Boko down to the coast. Used to be one country called Germany, a German territory, but they fought bravery. They were the first people, soldiers from Gold Coast, you call it Royal West African Frontier Force. Gold Coast Regiment were the first people to fire the gun in Togo and capture the Kamina wireless station and defeated the Germans within a short period. And then the contributions that were made by Ghanaian chiefs to support that war effort and what have you. All these things you know about it, and you know that indeed Ghana Armed Forces had a history.
Okay, it's a good time on your. President would arrive at the Independence Square in a bit. So, chief moment, let me do this birthday dedication. Mr. Michael Ballet Vanderpoy, happy birthday from the multimedia group and staff of MNC Group. You also chair the MNC Group. It's your birthday today, sir. Michael Ballet Vanderpoy, happy birthday to you.
Another friend of mine is celebrating his birthday.
Okay.
John Mustafa Musa, currently at Western Michigan University. Happy birthday to him.
Okay. Here's a message from Ganyo Razak Kinsley in Takrady. Message is wonderful instigation from Professor Osquats. Indeed, we need to change our attitude as Ghanaians and embrace positive moral revolution. We've sent some messages in the ears of people this morning. This one says, panelists, happy Independence Day. I really want to laud Professor or Prof. Inclusion of moral revolution. That is the way forward for Ghana after 61 years of independence. Long live our beloved country. We appreciate all the messages that you've sent through. If I couldn't read your message, please forgive us. We couldn't have read all the messages. And thanks to those who phoned in as well. Professor Kwame Osei-Kwarteng is head of the History Department at the University of Cape Coast. We thank you, sir, for making time to be here. And then Regina Mega also made time to be here on a holiday. Thank you. Chief Moment, yes. I can't say thank you enough, really. You're always there for me, and I really appreciate it. And on that note, we're ready for you to take us out.
I dedicate this poem to all Ghanaians, and especially to my auntie Mansoura, who is watching all the way from Tamale. God bless our homeland Ghana and make our nation great and strong. There was a time in this country when it felt the Ghanaian was invincible. Our pride and confidence was palpable. We were a lighthouse of hope on the stormy seas of a besieged continent haunted by colonial memories. This was the marker of the Pan-African, of the freedom fighter, of the revolutionary. We shot for our dreams like a rocket into the frightening uncertainty of space. We were a new nation on our infant legs taking giant steps, and boy, did we make some strides. Ghana needed to succeed to carry the rest of the continent along, and so across the length and breadth of the nation, we went to work to deliver on the dreams and ideals that inspired our liberation, dreams of a united, developed, and prosperous Ghana. But somehow, somewhere within the labyrinth of our checkered history, our dreams suffered an amputation before we could sprint to our full glory, and so we froze mid-air and the world flew by. How is it that from the promise of a great nation, it seemed we had become a broken generation? Our young had become disillusioned and couldn't wait to get out of these borders in search of the mirage of greener pastures. And so, as we mark 61 years of nationhood, let us remember again the moment when the Ghanaian was invincible. Let us remember again the moment when we felt that we could transform our nation, that we could change the world, and we could truly become the Black Star. And let us be inspired by our little successes, and let us ready ourselves again for the future. And let us indeed work to make Ghana truly great and strong.
Thank you. Thank you for watching our show. Stay with us. We'll bring you live coverage of the Independence Day Parade.